Glue Wednesday. You see, it's my belief that we don't have to get over. We need to find ways to keep it together. And my glue is G.L.U.E. God's love undoes everything, because that's what keeps it together. That life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of each puzzle in your family, social, or business relationships. Yet, no matter what size puzzle piece you think you are, without you, the puzzle is labeled as incomplete. Hi, I'm Sporty King, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. I named it Glue Wednesday because so often people decide, with the cliche, that Wednesday is hump day. Well, to me, hump has the connotation of the need to get over. When what I do is I look at Wednesday as the traditional middle of a 7-day cycle that keeps the beginning of the week and the end of the week together. So Wednesday is essentially the glue that keeps the week together. Meanwhile, of course, you know how I like to collect words. So glue for me is G.L.U.E. God's love undoes everything. Reminding you that God can take everything and put it back together for you. So whatever challenges or problems you have, God's love can undo it. So make sure you've got him in your life. Okay, so what I want you to do is recognize that today my topic is mind your business. Now, immediately we get to add a literary lesson. Because see, the point is that your consonants make your words. Let your consonants be your confidence. Take your time, and every now and then read out loud and focus on pronouncing your full word, because then you'll see that my title is M-I-N-E, your business. So here are 3 definitions of mine. 1, that which belongs to me. 2, an explosive device for destroying enemy personnel, vehicles, or ships. 3, a rich source of supply. Now, there are other definitions of mine, but I want to use those 3 to focus on my message today. Mind your business. And I ask you, which one of those 3 works best for you? There's no need to choose right away. I'll ask you again at the end of the broadcast. Because what I want you to do is listen to how those options play into my life. And maybe I'll be able to use some of your comments in a future broadcast, or even an answer to any question that you may have. But first, I have to give you one more example of consonants being in what I call consonant control, the consonant control that we need. I want to especially remind our young people, there's a difference between brought and bought. Brought is a delivery. Bought is a purchase. So even if you're the person looking to get credit for the flowers, the ring, the food, or the peace of mind that you bring, it's important to let your consonants be your confidence. Meanwhile, what I'll do with this broadcast is connect those 3 options of mine by reading 2 of my original poems, as well as the hedge of protection I surround myself with toward mining or growing my business, aka my life. Now, I have posted on my wall my scriptural guide for each year. And each year I add something different. I never take away the scriptural guide that I have for the year. The next year I add another scriptural guide. My first one is for our option of the first definition that we use of mine, of that which belongs to me. So I'm going to read you a poem from my book, I Found Out I'm Dying, a celebration of life. A book about the fact that physically we're all dying from the day we're born. Get over it. And it's a storyline in poetry that reminds you to be positive and not get caught up, as we do, by the headlines, but to look at the subtitles. Because the headline says, I found out I'm dying. And someone says, oh my God, he's dying. Is he going to die right in the middle of this broadcast? No. Look at what the subtitle says. A celebration of life. So the book is not all about dying. It's about living. But think about it. If the doctor gave you and could really give you 6 months to live, what would you do? You get out your things to do list, and some people call it a bucket list. I call it a live it list. But you would write all these things that you need to do, and places that you want to go, things that you need to see, people you want to share with. Okay, well, if the doctor can give you that amount of time, in all honesty, can they? They're not. They can't. So, but why don't we just go straight to the point of fact is you know that you're going to die one day. So how about getting out that bucket list, live it list, whatever you want to call it, and start doing all those things. Go visit all of those people. Go see all those places you need to see that you've been wanting to see. And that's going to make a difference. And that's celebrating life. But the poem I'm going to read from this is called I've Got a Message. I wrote this poem in 1995. I've got a message. Oh, it's subtle enough to not offend the highly sensitive. Soft enough not to come down too hard on the meek. Strong enough to be a force, light enough for the uneducated. Not ethically insulting or sexually suggestive, neither chauvinistic or feminist. Generically worded to resist conformity, though fancy enough to be chic. Religious but not committal, low on MSG, has no pork, high on protein, no fat grams, has TDY, a ramp, braille instructions. Not so wide that thin people will slip through the cracks, nor too narrow that a fat person can't fit in. Not so high and mighty that a short person can't reach it, or so low that a tall person can't stoop to it. Oh, the message? I was just kidding. But isn't it amazing how hard it is to get the attention of the number of people we need to talk to one another about harmony? You see, I always remind you to reach one person per speech, and let that one person be you. This poem is somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but it's also the truth about how impossible it is to reach everybody. You have to reach yourself by delivering a message of truth so that whomever God sent you to reach will be attended to. Now, I began my conscious reaching as a business in Chicago in 1994. However, it was in 1985 that I had given myself a vision of moving to Charlotte. And in 2009, I decided to act on that vision. As I told people I'd be moving, they'd venture their guess as to why. They said, oh, you got a job there? I said, no. Oh, well, you got a place to live? I said, no. So, oh, what, you moving for a woman? You got a girlfriend there? I said, no. They said, well, why are you moving? And I said, because I want to. And they said, wait. No, that can't be the reason. I said, okay, you're right. There's another reason. I said, oh, what's that? I said, because I can. Because I want to and because I can. Then I added, once I got here, I added because it's time. And then this year I've also added because I should. So all of the decisions that I make in my life about what I need to do have to fulfill three out of four of those questions have to be satisfied. Am I doing something because I want to, because I can, because it's time, or because I should? If it satisfies three of those four, I make the move. You have to decide what your formula is on how you want to make your decisions and your move. Those are mine. And the truth is, it's pretty hard to get three of those without getting the fourth. But those are what I focus on. Now, so I moved to Charlotte. As I moved to Charlotte, I learned to surround myself with scriptural reminders to help me stay the path. These first two scriptural reminders of the year, because the thing is, I don't remember what year it was that I started doing it. I just remember the last two that I can put it on the year. But these first two probably went through a couple of years. And again, they remind me to choose my messengers carefully, something I always remind you of. Choose your messengers carefully and recognize that you are being chosen as one of the messengers. So this first scripture that's on my wall, it says, anyone who isn't helping me opposes me. And anyone who isn't working with me is actually working against me. That's Matthew 12:30. And then my next one is, be sure to do what you should, for then you will enjoy the personal satisfaction of having done your work well. And you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else, for we are each responsible for our own conduct. Galatians 6:4-5. And that last one also reminds me that we are only in competition with ourselves to be better than we were the last time. I do not pressure myself to see anyone as my competitor. Instead, what I do, if I see someone as my competition, then to me, subliminally, I'm thinking that there's a chance that they could be better than me. Whereas if I recognize that to beat me, they have to do the best they've ever done. And guess what? I'm in the process of also trying to do the best that I've ever done. So if their best can beat my best, well, I'm ready to celebrate them. So I'm not competing with anybody but myself to be better than I was the last time. And that's what you want to focus on, because the truth is, the only time, and you heard me say it a million times, and I'll say it 1,000,001, the only time that you'll be successful is when you decide to be yourself. The only time you will fail is when you decide to try to be someone else. And we have to watch out, because so often in our society, we have decided to take financial success, which was a subset of success, and we've now made it the headline. And we've made success a subset of financial success. You can't base your success strictly on money. And so you have to ask yourself, what's my motivation? What really turns me on? How do I define my success? Because everybody's not going to be financially successful. So should they be walking around with their heads down, feeling like they're a failure? No. We have to succeed in different ways so that we can each be a valuable member of one another's puzzle. And you know I'm going to talk to you about puzzles at all times. Why don't I just do it right now? Because we have to always recognize that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle in all of your family, social, or business dealings. Yet no matter what size puzzle piece you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is called incomplete. See how much more important it is to mind your business? Because when you take care of your business, you're taking care of a whole lot of other people whose puzzle can't function without you. So let's look at the second definition that I gave you of mind. And this one reminds me of the work that I do with military families. It reminds me of how proud I am of their achievement and their resiliency, and how I make it my point to remind them of the high calling on their lives as military families. You know what our country asks them to do? And I always say to them, put this on your resume. Our country asks them to turn their emotions on and off at the drop of a dime. And they do it. So let's look at my 4 things. They do it. Why? Because they have to. But let's look at the 4 things to satisfy your goals. They do it because they want to, because they enlisted. They do it because they can, because they're well trained. They do it because it's time. That ain't always true. But it's time to go. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And they do it because they should. Because the truth is, they're the best ones for the job. And nobody else can get it done like they should. So again, please pray for our military families. And pray for the families. Not that you can pray harder for anybody than another, because prayer is powerful in itself. As soon as you decide to pray, you ever say to someone, well, that wasn't a very good prayer. It's no such thing. The fact that you make the attempt to pray is really all God needs. Because what he needs is submission or supplication. He needs to be able to take something that you have. So let's go back to what the glue is all about. Just take a little bit of something that you have and make it bigger than you ever thought it could be. You're not paid to think about how big it is. You're paid to think about how big your God is. And that pay is paying attention. So it's always about us recognizing that we are far more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. So that's why let's look at the second definition of mind. And that second definition, again, I connected to my military family, an explosive device for destroying enemy personnel, vehicles, or ships. See, I look at that as a reminder to my military family that they cannot and don't have to do this thing alone. If you're in position to be of assistance, please be of assistance. Keeping the families and the support network strong and together is our biggest weapon toward victory. Then, so here's the scripture that's for this year for me that I have written on my wall, and it's Deuteronomy 20:8. It says, then the officers will also say, is anyone terrified? If you are, go home before you frighten everyone else. In other words, if any of our military members are not prepared, then they can't put up the fight that we need them to. Again, that's why it's so important for everybody to see themselves as an important and a major piece of the puzzle, because however much support you can give is the support that they need. The Bible that I read, and I meant to bring it, but I'll share it with you next week, but the Bible I read is called a Touch Point Living Bible. What it does is it gives modern day application and analogies to Scripture to help you understand it better. So the analogy that goes with Deuteronomy 20:8, which I just read, is courage, is the caption, is the topic, courage. And it says, we never exist alone. Our lives affect the lives of others and vice versa. You think they stole that from me on my piece of the puzzle thing? If we consistently forget to rely on God for help or decide not to include Him, how will this affect the way we influence others? How do you feel when fellow Christians demonstrate fear or lack of faith? We don't have the luxury of thinking only of ourselves. Our responsibility to build others up should be an incentive to keep our courage in hard times. Are you facing tomorrow with fear or worry? Can it hurt to choose God and trust Him anyway? You may end up encouraging someone else as well as yourself. So you can see how important the puzzle is with your piece. Even though I always say focus on you and let other people come into focus, put yourself first. When you put yourself first, that's asking you to take care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually so that you can help the people who are touching you, because that's what puzzle pieces do. They have to touch and connect. And then once they touch and connect, not each one is in the right place. It won't stay if it's not the right piece of the puzzle. So no, we can't do it alone. And therefore, when we shrink and we are fearful, then it affects the person next to us. One of my favorite movies is The 300, and it's about the Spartans. And one of the lines in it, the leader, Leonidas, he says to one of the guys who he was born with a deformity, but he's actually of Spartan blood, and he wants to be one of the fighters. So Leonidas says to him, no, you can't be one of the warriors. And then he says, no, but I want to be one. I've got my shield. So Leonidas said, well, hold your shield up. Well, the guy lifts it, and he can't lift it up, but so high. And Leonidas says, you can't be one of our warriors because you have to be able to lift your shield. Your shield is the protection for the soldier and the warrior to your left. You are protecting from their waist to their shoulder by lifting your shield. So if you can't lift your shield up, you can't form what we need to protect one another of the person who's next to us. So you can't be one of our warriors. But he didn't kick him out. He said, but you are one of us, and you can be of help. What we need you to do, and then he gave him an assignment. You can help us with the bodies, this and that. Well, the guy didn't want to do that. So he's the one that went and betrayed them and told the Persians where the back entrance was so that they could sneak behind them and defeat them. Choose your messengers carefully. Watch how you snub somebody or not allow them to be a part of the bigger picture, because some people are insecure, and what they will do is betray you. That's why it's up to you to make the right choice. But again, have the courage. And so here's another scriptural, my scriptural theme for last year was Proverbs 4:23 through 27. Above all else, guard your heart, for it affects everything you do. Avoid all perverse talk. Stay far from corrupt speech. Look straight ahead and fix your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Then stick to the path and stay safe. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Again, can't you see how when you mind your business, you stay the path? And it's just like we say, stay in your lane. Don't let anybody knock you off your square. So the third and final definition of mind that we're going to deal with today is 3, a rich source of supply. A rich source of supply. And it was one of my scriptural themes for another year. And it says, it's 1 Peter 4:11. Are you called to be a speaker? Then speak as though God himself were speaking through you. Are you called to help others? Do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. And God will be given glory through Jesus Christ. Recognize that you are a source of supply. And in fact, what I did and what I'm going to close with is a poem I wrote called In Fact I Do Know. I wrote this poem in 2002. It's actually unpublished. But I wrote it, and it goes with one of my sayings from my book Starting Today. And I'll read the saying to you first, and it's from this book Starting Today, Positive Affirmations, Daily Affirmations for, what is it? Weekly Inspiration for Daily Living. I always quote myself, that's why I write this stuff down. But have you ever heard somebody say, I got blind faith? So this saying was called blind faith. I've used that term several times in describing my belief in myself and my business. And I've had it said to me, you don't know how many people you've helped, etc. and I've humbly moved the conversation along. Then I recognized that I could better share my gift by knowing and acknowledging my source. I don't seek to mock or discredit their comments and compliments. I seek to strengthen my spirit by knowing that I'm doing the work created for me. How did you get where you are today? God is my source. As I help you, to him goes the glory. So that's why you can also see in that First Peter, then, are you called to be a speaker? Then speak as if God is speaking through you, because then God will be giving glory in everything through Jesus Christ. So that's why I wrote this poem called In Fact, I Do Know, because of the number of people who would come up to me after I spoke and say, oh man, you were speaking to me. You don't know how much you helped me. So this is called In Fact, I Do Know. You see, you think that because you can touch me, that I don't know how I affect and impact the lives of those I touch. Yet you tell me I touch you. Therefore, someone less powerful than my God has made an impression on your life and painted the picture of how the impactful should act, which impacts how they impact who they impact. And in that cycle, no one gets credit for knowing how they impact, thus impacting no one. So it's you who doesn't know how you affect and impact the lives of those you touch. Yet, it's you who has influenced mine. Because you touch me. And that's the key, is recognizing that all of us have the power to impact and touch somebody. Now, sometimes your touch and impact may not be the most positive thing that they're looking for. But if they have a strong hold on their faith and belief in God, no matter how you touch them and how impactful it may seem like it's going in a bad direction for them, based on what their expectations of not knowing what the plan is, because remember, we're on the implementation crew while only God is on the planning committee. So they think that you have thrown a monkey wrench in their plans and disrupted where they're trying to go with their life. When in fact, what you may have done is given them a wonderful detour and a chance to pause and breathe and reflect and not step forward and get hit by the rushing train. Always look for the positive. I'm not telling you that you're going to always find it, but it's your job to look for it. Now, am I positive all the time? Not at all. I'm not positive 365 days, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But I'm positive more than I'm negative. I'm up more than I'm down. I'm going forward more than I'm going backwards. And there's nothing wrong with going backwards. And if you just reframe it and recognize that sometimes you just need to step back and look at your work. Give yourself credit. You make a lot of difference. That's how you mine your business, because you're mining it. You're making it grow. You're putting the right ingredients and the right nutrients in the soil. You're mining. So again, I still want to make that point of you using your consonants, because we tend to say, well, mind your business. No, it's mind your business if somebody's getting on your nerves and you want to get them out of your business. But guess what? How about instead of telling them to mind their business, how about you mind yours and move them out accordingly? Because if they don't belong in your first 5 rows, that's where the impactful people sit in your life. If they don't belong in those rows, you have to move them out. They're not going to move out on their own because they think that they're where they're supposed to be because no one's told them to move. So it's important to mind your business if you want somebody else to mind their business. So 3 definitions of mind that we started out with. Which one works for you? 1, that which belongs to me. 2, an explosive device for destroying enemy personnel, vehicles, or ships. Or 3, a rich source of supply. Which one works for you? Let me know in the comments. And like I say, maybe next week I can use that, or in a future broadcast I can talk about it, or answer any questions you may need to know. But the key is that you need to know which one works for you, because life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle. Yet no matter what size puzzle piece you see yourself as in your business, your family, or your social interactions, without you, the puzzle is called incomplete. A lot of people need you to be who you are. And that's why every week on G.L.U.E Wednesday, I help you focus on the fact that we are not here to hump. We're not here to get over. We're here to keep it together. And I'll be happy to do that for you. If you'd like to book me to share this type of an inspirational message, as well as show my consistency in helping you stay positive. In fact, I call it staying powerful and positive when positive doesn't seem like an option. If you'd like me to be able to come and do that with your group, check out my website, sportyking.com. Click with there and get involved with me for my speaking business, for any of my products, as well as connect with me on Facebook. And see, I'm going to call them Facebook because it sounds like sometimes people, that's all they're doing is complaining on there. But social media is a necessary evil. Stop fighting it. Make sure that you find a way to bring it into your life. As one of my good friends, Tony, said to me, you have to focus on Philippians 8, which lists how important it is for you to bring all the good things into your life and focus on those, because the bad things will creep in. So let's make sure that we don't let the creep in there. Well, of course, I know somebody like my sister, Zette, she loves Luther. So she likes to hear the creep. But that's not what we want right now. We want to let it come in droves, and we want the flood of God just to be like the blood of God and make it all work for us. I'm Sporty King. I'll see you next week on Glue Wednesday, but you keep it together until then, okay? Over and out. Ciao.